Hi guys and gals, Shane Stevenson, Director of Museum Collections, Curator here at the Buffalo Naval Park. And for today's video, it's going to be a Sullivans update video. It's probably been a while since, we give updates on our live sessions and things like that, but I'll actually sit down with my handy dandy notes. I'm standing in the mess deck now of the Sullivans. If there's noises, that's one of the updates. If you hear some air movers and dehumidifiers and things, that will be in the updates. Also, if you've watched our the live session with Ken, John Epp, Parks, Tim, Shane, Steven, potentially a little bit of buzz from the Cass and Young when we were talking about when we did the 80th anniversary of the start. We talked a little bit about the ice cream machine, so I just wanted to point that out. Here's our steam line. Alright, the chow line, there's the ladder where the guys would go up and up and up, right up to the main deck. Chow line here. And here is our ice cream machine. Alright, so we talked about it, and if you've watched that video, the live session there, talking about the USS Kidd, I mentioned it's on port near the steam line, and here it is. So to make ice cream, here's the stamp for that. I don't have my glasses with me. General Electric. I can't read anything. So if there's a date on it, I can't really read it. What I can do is probably get this, I could look it up after I get back to my office. Quite a unit here. So there's our ice cream machine. Now heading back into the mess deck, you'll see we have it lit up, but that's not using the ship's own power. You see we have some lines running from our temporary transformers and, with LED lights and stuff. So, let's see here. Got my handy dandy notes. Unfortunately, Steven went to an event in Virginia and he took the camera tripod. So I'll be holding this as opposed to using a tripod. So the Sullivans is still very stable. Right, we did have water that came into the forward fire room, forward engine room during our two major storms that we had this off season in the winter time. Obviously those have been pretty well documented. Those have been pumped out. There's about 3 to 4 inches remaining in certain areas of the bilges and holds of those two spaces, but it's nothing that we're still monitoring it. We don't believe there's any more water incursion coming in. Air movers and dehumidifiers are back in place. We are not really that warm yet, but we will be getting warm, and it will certainly boil up down here. So we've already put into place our air movers and dehumidifiers, and again, that might be, if there's any bad background noise, that's what it is. The Naval Surveyor report, Joe Lombardi, he was just here for a day or two last week, and it should be, his full report should be released within about 2 weeks with his recommendations moving forward for the Sullivans, the Little Rock, and the Croaker. So he surveyed all 3 vessels. Obviously, the first thing that we want to do is focus on the Sullivans. So this report, when it gets released from Joe, it will be given, a copy will be given to us and a copy will be given to the city. We will each, as both entities, spend about 2 weeks reviewing it and analyzing it. And then we will encapsulate it and we'll be releasing those findings after those 2 weeks. So again, we roughly got about $8 million, $8.5 million from federal and state. We are during subsequent talks with dry docks and things, we are looking at anywhere from $7 to $10 million. So we have most of it covered. If it goes above 8.5, if it's under, that's good, and then that money, that reserve money, will then be used as kind of an endowment to do any subsequent repairs and to the Sullivans specifically. So all of that money will be dedicated to the Sullivans only, and then as we move forward, we'll have a fund drive for the Croaker and a fund drive for the Little Rock as well. That's one of the challenges here of having a multi-vessel museum ship naval park is, you know, we sometimes are envious of other organizations that may have one boat or one ship or two ships, because then all of those resources can be pumped right into that one vessel. We've always had to triage it out, and it just sometimes makes for more difficult decisions. Again, throughout our 45 years that we've been here, more difficult decisions to make. So for the dry docks, we've been looking at Erie, Don John, as we've discussed. We've also been looking at a dry dock in Toledo and also one in Canada near St. Catharines, which is not very far from Buffalo, just up the Welland Canal. So that venture might be a 45-mile adventure. You got to go to Welland Canal and then up the Welland Canal. Erie is about 90 miles away, and Toledo might be 350 miles away. So it seems as though Canada is currently not on the radar. Our management and our president and board of directors have been working with Schumer's office, Senator Schumer here in New York State, asking if some of this money or all of this money could be dedicated and used in a foreign dry dock. I don't know if we've had a full answer yet, but I think the answer is leaning towards no, we cannot use federal funding for a dry dock in a foreign port. Erie is scheduled out this year, as we've probably talked about. So for 2023, Erie, their schedule of ships and repairs is filled for the rest of 2023. That does leave Toledo, but again at about 350 miles away from Buffalo. That tug would be a 60-hour tug, 65, 70-hour tug maybe. And one of the things in the report we're looking for from Joe Lombardi is, could the Sullivans handle a two-tug tow? Say that a couple of times. Two-tug tow for 60, 55, 60, 70 hours. So that's something we are also considering. We do have internal goals that we're trying to meet. We'll not make them public now, but we do have internal goals and scheduling and scope of work that we're working on internally as a staff and the Board of Trustees. We are waiting to hear back from a Tin Can Sailor grant. We put in for a grant this past year. Bill Abbott was instrumental in writing that grant, and we are waiting to see back if we are awarded money. Now that money would be used for abatement of the paint. Now granted, when you have a compartment that's completely encapsulated, the paint is thick and fresh, no doubt during her service that there would have been lead paint on board, certainly painted over, like here in various examples where the lead paint was just covered over and encapsulated. Well, of course, with the water incursion and sitting in water for 6 weeks, that peeled back a lot of the paint, and we do in certain areas, not all of the areas on board, like the mess deck is encapsulated, that there is a lot of lead paint that has been exposed. So that grant was to abate that lead and get it ready. And those are things that we could do here at the Naval Park that we would not have to rely on the dry dock for, meaning that we can come out that much sooner. Though for a dry dock, we've been, with the companies that we worked at, we're all looking at somewhere between 4, 5, and 6. One report said 7 months in a dry dock. Three of the things that I'd like to see happen are getting our SPS-10 and SPS-6 radar working again, and rotating, not radiating, but rotating. So that's something that I would like to see happen for the Sullivans in dry dock. And also we've had an Eagle Scout do a 26-foot motor whaleboat. We'd like to get the davits working again and get that mounted with the block and tackle back on the Sullivans to kind of fit her out a little bit and bring some of that historical fabric back to the ship when she comes back. So as of right now, those are the updates as we have them. If you have any questions, comments, please leave them down below. So again, about 2 weeks, we should be getting the Joe Lombardi report, the City of Buffalo, and the Buffalo Naval Park. We'll review them for about 2 weeks. And then after that, we look towards the release. And of course, we can then have a follow-up after we've digested and crunched it down. And then we can use that as a blueprint going forward for USS Croker and also USS Little Rock. All right. And again, Tim, Parks, there's our, and for all of you, there's our ice cream machine. And again, I did that ice cream machine video on the Little Rock. Don't really know where it is because we don't have it anymore. All right, let me gather up my stuff. And again, we're in the mess deck. So there'll be a furnishing report as we go through, as the ship gets back, and bringing back authenticity, historical fabric to the rest of the ship, space by space by space. Well, thanks so much. Thanks for all your support. Thanks for your membership. I know we recently had a new member, so thank you very much. And we look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.